Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and my mom washed my mouth out with soap and water, but it didn't do any fucking good. Joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, my friend.
He's got a rap sheet longer than my dick.
Hey, we swear on this show. Everybody, if you're not cool with that, you should listen to something else. We are dorking out about 1985's Jagged Edge. We love our 80s thrillers. They're the best. And this one is written by Joe Esterhaus, who actually did Showgirls.
Basic Instinct.
Yeah, Showgirls, Sliver, which we're going to be doing a show on in a couple weeks. Basic Instinct. He also did Jade, which I have never seen. Have you seen?
Oh, it's great.
Is
Angie
it?
Everhart. Yeah. David Caruso, Angie Everhart. Angie Everhart has a scene where she's running in heels better than anyone has ever ran.
Oh my
before in
God.
their lives.
All right. I'm going to watch Jade because while I was reading about Jagged Edge, it was pointed out that Jagged Edge, Basic Instinct, and Jade are like an unofficial, like, Joe Esterhaus San Francisco film trilogy. Like, they're all filmed in San Francisco. They're all these, like, kind of sexy thrill. I was like, yeah, I should watch Jade.
We should watch Jade, actually, just to complete that. Yeah.
All right, let's put it on the list. And we've got Sliver, and we might do Basic Instinct someday. We'll save it. We'll save it. It's directed by Richard Marquand. I think I pronounced that correctly. And he also did Return of the Jedi, FYI.
Which is crazy.
So crazy. Very different movies. There are hardly any Ewoks in this movie. I was so disappointed. But there is Glenn Close, Jeff Bridges, Peter Coyote, Robert Loggia. How much do we love Robert Loggia?
Love.
So much. And then William Allen Young and Lance Hendrickson in a kind of early role, I think, for him.
Yeah.
It was cool to see him before he was Bishop in the movie Aliens. When did you first see Jagged Edge?
It might have been at Crow Canyon Cinema. It was San Ramon. We moved. So my family, I was a teenager. We moved from New Jersey to California. We lived in Danville. And I think my brother Joe and I went to see this movie.
Nice.
I thought it was 86. It's 85.
Yeah.
And I was super excited. I remember the trailers, the commercials on TV, and I like a good courtroom drama.
Yep.
There's
so
something
funny
about that.
You were probably, 13 or 14? That's, I think.
Sure.
I mean, that's about, I think I might have been 14, maybe 15.
Yeah.
Maybe 15 when I saw Jagged Edge. Because once again, as we've established, my mom didn't give a fuck about ratings. So I definitely saw this movie with my mom in the theater, probably at the Regency in Pleasant Hill would be my guess. And it's not like a movie that teenagers are like, wee, Jagged Edge. Like, it's not. But why were you like, because you just love movies and you love courtroom, or was it the Jeff Bridges factor?
Well, the Jeff Bridges factor. After Starman, I had such a crush on him. Starman should be on our list, by the way.
Yeah, writing it down right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I had a big crush on Jeff Bridges. I thought Glenn Close was cool.
Yeah.
Because of The Big Chill, which I saw we should probably do that. Did we do Big Chill?
No. Writing it down.
You should do that.
I've got thoughts about The Big Chill. That would be
man, I felt one way a long time ago, and I feel a whole other way now.
Shit, that's moving up the list.
Yeah, we got to move that shit up the list. Okay. But yes, I did see this in the movie theater, and spoiler, at the end, it was so nebulous. I remember putting on my coat and turning to my brother and it's like, so who did it?
Yeah.
And Joe looks at me like he always did and said, huh? Because he was always tuned out. Bless his heart. Just was never. He got bored very easily.
Yes.
He's like, squirrel. Yeah, he did. But the whole audience, there's a bunch of people in the audience. We had a discussion about who did it.
This is so fascinating to me because I remember seeing it in the theater. And once again, we're spoiling Jagged Edge. If you haven't seen Jagged Edge, it really helps if you don't know the ending. So you should stop right now.
Now.
And then come back and listen, because it's very important that you see it without us spoiling the ending. But when I saw it, I was like, okay, like, I know who did it. And then maybe the next week on Siskel and Ebert, they had a whole segment on there where they tell you who did it because people were so confused. And I was like, that's amazing to me.
This movie is beautiful to look at.
Yes.
It's great setting. San Francisco looks amazing in there. I love it. We'll talk all about that. But that very last shot, whoever set it up deserves a kick in the balls. It was a dude. And because it was so, I remember in the theater, they had to actually take that ending and add frames to it. Like repeated frames, so it looks a little jumpy, because people were not sure, because there's a bunch of white dudes that look alike.
Yeah,
that are in the cast.
Yeah, and they shot the scene.
Spoiler: it's a white dude.
Yeah, spoilers. It's shot in a way that, like, you're kind of looking up his nose a little bit, and like the angle, you're like I said, we're spoiling. It could be Jeff Bridges. It could be Peter Coyote. Like, you're not sure.
Or
like,
the guy at the gym. That's what I thought it was.
Or the guy at the gym. It could be the tennis pro.
Right.
We
don't.
No,
I mean the guy at the gym, the locker guy.
Oh yeah, I'm like, it could have been him. It could have been anybody.
And then my brother came back to real, goes, that couldn't be him. What would be the point of that? I'm like, I don't know. That wasn't Jeff Bridges, because he didn't look good. That was Jeff Bridges, you guys. Sorry.
It was Jeff Bridges.
A 35-year-old movie I'm spoiling for you.
Yeah. It's not. I don't consider it spoilers at this point.
No.
And we warned you.
Yes.
But yeah, that ending is so crazy, because I remember seeing it in the theater, and we're going to do a whole rundown, but I do want to talk about this part. Where she finds this typewriter, because there's all these like notes that she's getting throughout the trial that's like pointing her in certain directions, anonymous notes. And she finds a typewriter in Jeff Bridges' house, and she types on it. And when the T like is out of alignment, which then she now knows that like he's been the one like sending her these notes all along, because fucking duh. I remember the theater freaked the fuck out. Like, there was like a gasp. Like, people were like, oh!
That was tension.
The audience I saw it with was all in.
Oh yeah, they were in the pocket. We were in the pocket. I couldn't figure out if that was Jeff Bridges or not.
Yeah.
Should we start with the beginning? Let's go into the story.
we need to run through the story.
Give some context.
Yes.
So there's a woman. I hate it's Joe Esterhaus. So there's a layer of ooze around it.
It's a little slimy in some spots.
Yeah, and so we have this woman being raped and killed it's only the first couple of minutes, and I hate it when they eroticize shit like that.
It's so gross.
It's gross. And so this lovely, what part of Baker Beach?
They're at Baker Beach.
Where is that?
It is. It's not far from the Presidio, actually, which we also covered. I'm going to look up like a map here so that I can like tell you exactly. But
so there's a beautiful rich lady.
Yeah, Baker Beach is beautiful, by the way. It's lovely.
Is it like a vacation home or something, or is it on a separate island? Like, what's the deal with San Francisco? Okay.
No, it's actually not far from the Presidio, and you could you have a view of like the Golden Gate Bridge there, and it's lovely. Like, but that's where rich people live.
Right. It's a rich lady. She's in this. It's a stormy night. Great time to rape and kill somebody in a movie setting. Sorry, sarcastic.
It's true.
But that's how this is the 80s. This is 85, right in the middle of the sleazy decade. She's murdered, and then the cops come, and it's Peter Coyote. And it's very hard to watch things after you watch CSI for many years, as I did, when people just trounce through crime scenes. Oh my God,
they're just like,
smoking cigars.
They're just walking
telling jokes.
Yeah, walking through the scene, like just touching shit. Just random people walking around, like, taking pictures.
Like, put on some booties. What are you doing? Like, you're putting this poor woman is tied up in her bed, and then somebody wrote "bitch" in her blood.
Yes.
Over her body. And then there's a maid, Consuela. She's dead too. Yeah. We never hear about her again.
Yeah. P.S. He also killed the maid.
And she's never brought up. Her family never. Okay. So Jeff Bridges is, I guess, the Phil Bronstein of the movie.
He is. He's the editor of the San Francisco Times. Not a real newspaper.
Just not a real newspaper, but that's like Phil Bronstein was. It was the Chronicle Examiner. He was the Examiner.
He was at the Examiner and then the Chronicle.
Okay.
And he was married to Sharon Stone.
Sharon Stone for a number of years. I just read her autobiography. Not a big fan of his, but she can't say anything because she signed an NDA.
Oh.
I know. It's a bummer.
That's disappointing.
It's a real disappointment. It could have been way better. But anyway, he's gorgeous and he was married to Paige and they had an on and off relationship. She's dead. He inherits everything. Turns out she was the rich one. Everything was in her name and they're both sleeping around, but she's dead. So he inherits everything. And so how is he in the hospital?
So he has a head wound. So the story is that somebody broke in and clunked him on the head. But killed the women. Because sure.
Jeffrey McDonald stuff there. Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole like writing bitch on the walls, like groovy, that sort of thing.
Right.
It's, and immediately like Peter Coyote, who plays the district attorney, like hones in on it's the husband, which by the way, most of the time it is.
Most of the time you're murdered by somebody that you know.
Yeah. Peter Coyote is a real dick in this movie, but he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, and he's very sexy. I felt things when I was watching him on screen. I'll be honest.
You're like, come on, Teddy, hit that.
Yeah, Teddy. Yeah, I remember watching this movie. He's wearing suspenders, which was a thing, and they're twisted.
Yeah,
they're not even. There's some sloppy details here. Is that on purpose, or just they were just filming this really quickly?
I don't know. That's a good question. Like. It could have been like a little thing that he wanted to do to show that like his character doesn't give a shit about that sort of thing, or who knows?
Right.
Who knows?
He's immediately like, well, this is, done, figured it out. Jeff Bridges immediately gets arrested with no evidence that I could think of, but he gets arrested at his office. And then Glenn Close, who used to work for Peter Coyote, and they put away a guy with bad evidence like 4 or 5 years ago. And then it turns out at the same time all this is happening, that person, Robert Stiles?
Yeah, it's
Ray Stiles?
I wrote it down. Henry Stiles.
Henry Stiles. I was close.
Not Harry Styles. Not Harry Styles. Not Watermelon Sugar. Not Harry Styles.
How awesome would it be if they could just put him in this movie for a second?
Sugar.
Oh, I love Harry. He's so sexy. Too young, but okay. Anyway, so Henry Stiles was on his way to his parole hearing or something like that, but he died by suicide.
And Glenn weird.
Close, it's very strange, and her reaction is total devastation, and Peter Coyote's reaction is, meh.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Yeah, what are you gonna do? Nah, sometimes you win some, you lose some.
Some people die. Who cares? So Glenn Close is working corporate now, and Jeff has whatever his character's name. Thomas. What's
Jack?
His name? Jack. Another bad Jack.
Jack.
Jack is a good movie name. He immediately resigns and says, I'll come back when this is all over from the board of his newspaper. Just report it as normal. No favoritism. Wink, wink. Not.
Right.
Because he wrote all the editorials, by the way. Right. And then he leaves, and then Glenn Close, turns out she's a divorcee. Also turns out one of the producers thought she was ugly. And didn't want to give her the part.
Yeah. I read that too, and I was like, fuck off. Glenn Close isn't ugly.
No. She's gorgeous. She's distinct.
Yeah.
And I've seen her on Broadway in a few shows. She has her own look. She has a kick-ass bod. She wears these like tight suits with like a tight, waist, and she looks great.
She does look great. I was like, fuck that person.
And that person was a producer and tried to show up on set. And she's like, I am not going on out there if this person is here. And the director had her back and said, fuck her, go back to LA with your looksism bullshit.
Yeah, what an asshole.
He's an asshole, but she's not.
No.
She's good looking, a successful lawyer. She has a perfect ex-husband and
oh my gosh.
Kids. Oh my god.
The nicest ex-husband in the world, and two like
so understanding.
Yeah, and two kids that give her just enough shit. Like just enough.
Just enough, but they're going to be okay.
But I love that she shows up to Jack's mansion. Like, I don't even know where that is in San Francisco, but it looks...
because I was going to ask you.
Yeah. It could be St. Francis Circle, which actually isn't very far from where I live, but I live on the wrong side of the tracks.
Now you're bougie.
I'm so not bougie, y'all. I rent and my house is gross. Anyway, he has his super mansion. I love that they show up. It's all gated, and like she's in her station wagon, her super 80s station wagon, which I would fucking love to own right now. And the kids are like, who lives here? Joe Montana?
That got a big laugh in the theater I was in.
Yeah.
San Ramon. Yeah.
Because Joe Montana was a superstar in the 80s in San Francisco, especially in San Francisco. So
yeah, he had a long run. He's still, I think, a big deal there.
Yeah. So she meets with Jack, and he's like, "Want to see my horses?" So they go and they like see.
Sorry,
and he said it just like that. "Want to see my horses?"
You're into horses. I met you 5 years ago. You like horses.
I also like horses.
And she's like, "Oh,
he likes horses."
Horses. By the way, it's Jeff Bridges in 85.
No shit, right? I would be like, I would be like, I totally believe you. Let's go to your room and talk about it.
And all of his jokes. I was like, sushi? Do you like sushi? Oh my God, I love sushi.
I love whatever you love.
Whatever you're into, it's great.
Yeah. I would be like, I'm a vegan, and I'd be like, I love sushi too.
And I don't eat fish. And I'd be like, yeah, great. Rice and fish. Awesome.
I also love horses.
Great. But I do love horses.
I do love horses. I'm not a monster. I love horses.
No, my grandfather was a jockey.
Oh.
So I actually have a discerning eye with horses, and those are beautiful horses in this movie.
Was he very was he very little?
He was, but for jockeys, he was big.
Oh.
He was like 5'4".
Yeah, that's super tall. He's like Andre the Giant compared to other jockeys.
Yeah, and my mom is like 5'4", and she married my dad, who's 6'2", and so all of us grew up tall. And we would tell Mom how petite she is. She's like, I'm average. I'm average. Not in this house, but I'm average.
I had a grandmother who was like 4'8".
Oh yeah.
I was like, you're adorable. I'm gonna pick you up, put you right in my pocket. Come with me, pocket. Come on with me, pocket granny.
You could put her in a baby Bjorn, probably 4'8".
Come on, Grandma. We're going for a walk.
Go to the BART to the city.
You be nice to my little grandma. She'll say a prayer for you. So she's kind of like skeptical at first, but she starts to believe him because, as we've established, he's hot Jeff Bridges from the 80s. So she's like kind of all in. And then she recruits Robert Loggia to work as her private investigator. And this was his only Oscar nomination he ever got, was for this movie.
He deserves it for anything other than this movie. And he's great in this movie.
He is.
But it's like a lot of yelling.
Yeah.
A lot of like bad one-liners. I mean, he's selling the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And God bless him. But it's like this world where she's considered tough, but every man has to treat her like she's a delicate sculpture.
Yeah.
And it gets really annoying after a while. I mean, looking at it 30 years later, when she takes him on as a client, and then she tells him, it's just going to be me and him at that table in court. Don't you show up there. And everybody thinks she's a genius for thinking of this.
Yes.
And it's also, this is 85. Every time she approaches the jury, Jeff Bridges has to stand up. She goes to the jury, then he has to stand up again and put her in her seat.
Yes.
And pat her shoulder and let her know she's okay. Like, she's, anyway.
Yeah, there's also a lot of for someone who's a really good attorney, she has like no poker face. Like no poker face. Like, she's in court, and anytime something is damaging to her client, it is all over her face.
She looks stricken.
Yeah, like every time. And then, because he's hot 80s Jeff Bridges, like, she's so quick to sleep with him. Bad idea. Bad idea, jeans. Bad idea, mom jeans, Glenn Close. So she hooks up with Jeff Bridges, and then as all these like shitty things start to come out about Jeff Bridges, I actually think she's doing an interesting thing here, because she is hurt as like his lover, but she's also like, you're fucking over my case.
Yeah.
So there's like a couple of things going on, and she's really good in it. And like, she's really good in the movie. It's not her fault that the character doesn't have any kind of poker face, but
no, and she makes glaring errors all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like the men are assholes or they're pushovers. It's kind of like there's no in between.
Mm-hmm.
But so she takes him on as a client, and it turns out the case is pretty good. They slept around on each other.
Yeah.
The wife was really mad at him for a bunch of things that he belongs to a health club, like a fancy pants health club.
Yeah.
And the guy that cleans the lockers or is in charge of that found a jagged edge knife.
Jagged edge.
Just like the one that killed his wife. San Francisco, not
We have a title,
hunters.
Everybody. Jagged Edge.
It was supposed to be called something else, and it's a great title, by the way. I think it.
Yeah.
I think it
Honestly,
works.
I read the original title was like Hearts of Fire, which then they
Right, I
then
think it
used
was
for
Hearts of Fire.
Then they used it for like another movie or something, and I was like, Hearts of Fire would have never worked for this movie.
Hearts of Fire. No,
That's
No.
not that kind of movie.
But the guy at the gym noticed his locker, 122, whatever it was, and there's a jagged edge knife in there. So womp womp, he's, probably guilty. And when they finally get around to putting this guy on the stand, he falls like a house of cards. Like, well, I guess I could fuck up. I don't know. I always says it out loud to the jury.
Yeah. No, by the way, no one asked him a question. He just starts fucking talking.
He offered it.
Maybe I'm wrong. I might be stupid. I might.
But as an audience, we're mad at Peter Coyote because he's such a dick to everybody in this movie. So we're kind of like, yeah. And then what was my point? I kind of got distracted for a second there. Leigh Taylor Young was married to Ryan O'Neal for a time. She's a witness for the prosecution. She was friends with Paige.
Oh, yes. Yes. I wrote notes about this. Mm-hmm.
And the defense tried to get at her like she's just a bitter ex-hag of...
Yes.
Anyway, she's really good in this movie.
She is.
There's a great point where like the defense attorney's like hammering at her about the ex-wife and says to her like, why did she do this? And she goes, I don't know. Why don't you ask her? Yeah. And it's like, damn.
You burnt, dead Paige.
You're hurt. But no, she means it against like the not the prosecution, but the defense person is just like trying to make her, she's like, no, this woman died because of this asshole. He killed her. Like that's her whole point. And she's really good. It's a small part, but she's really good.
She is really good. And so this friend takes the stand, and her whole point is Paige told her that she wanted to divorce Jack. And then as Teddy questions her, she it is revealed that she hadn't talked to Paige in like 6 months because this friend was trying to put the moves on Jack and it didn't happen. So she's like, she is like a woman scorned. And then just to like humiliate her even more, Teddy has her read like a letter that she wrote Jack. Like, it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
But
okay, she's not the perfect witness.
No, she's not a perfect witness, but it is a really good scene. And then it's not too long after that, though, that and Teddy's like, I fucking got this. Like, this case is like, I'm done. She's like washing her hands of it. And then Peter Coyote brings this other witness who it turns out she actually did have an affair with Jack. And he lied about it to Teddy. So that's where we get this scene where she is like no poker face and clearly fucked up about it. Because in court, in front of the jury, like everyone can see Teddy. Everyone can see that you're fucking your client. It's a terrible idea. So that happens. And when we get, and then we get the tennis pro on the stand who was Paige's lover. What was his name?
Such a sleaze. Oh my God.
What's his fucking name? It's like Bobby Slade or something like that. It's something really bad. I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
Where is it? Bobby Slade. Oh my God. I was right. Bobby Slade.
You got it. Yeah. He's so sleazy when he shows up on the stand and he's like, Marshall Colt plays him. And he's like, yeah, we had a thing. It was nothing big. But anyway, she was ready to drop this asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. But then he lists all these things that Jack does to like win over women. So it's like the idea of like the horses were foreplay. And it's like, oh, Teddy, you totally fell for it. Like, it's such a shitty scene. And like, that guy is such a fucking creep. He's so gross.
This movie has a really good beginning and a middle, but like it really just kind of gets out of control at the end. Like nobody's behaving like they should be behaving. And she's like upset now, like, well, I think he actually had sex with other people before and didn't tell me. He is, surprise, not guilty by the jury of killing his wife. And then she's so excited that she runs back to his house to fuck him. And her ex-husband, by the way, comes over with the kids like, I think you got to do something right now. Wink.
Yeah.
And she's like,
I think you want to celebrate with some good old-fashioned dickin'.
You need some vitamin D right now, don't you? I understand, because in my fan fiction, he was probably homosexual and then he married her and then it was a big thing.
Oh, I like that version.
And he feels guilty and he shouldn't. I mean, whatever happens, happens. But I think a part of him feels guilty. Whatever happened between them, whatever it was, he feels guilty about it. And he really
like this fan fiction so much.
Thank you. Okay. So she sleeps with Jeff Bridges because who wouldn't? I don't care. Right. He kills people. And then she wakes up. And he's like, I'm going to take you on that horse again today. We're going to do it some more. And she's like, yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, sir.
And then for some reason
she wants to write a letter.
No. So then she's like, I'm going to I'll get dressed and we're going to have food or whatever. I don't know. And for some reason, she strips the bed. Like she's going to change the sheets. I'm like, what were you a virgin when you guys did it? Like, what the fuck? You work there? Well, the maid is dead. Maybe that's why. I don't know. So she strips the bed and like decides to go get clean sheets. Once again, not her job. And that's where she finds this very specific typewriter.
Which she writes on. And let me just say this before we go there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Henry Styles was basically put away to jail for bad reasons. There's something that happened with Peter Coyote. He didn't say something to the defense attorney or something. So once she gets there, she's on the steps of City Hall, San Fran, where my sister got married. And
by the way, they don't really do court cases in City Hall, but it is a gorgeous building. I totally get it.
It's beautiful. And she's like, hey, thank you. My client is not guilty. And by the way, 4 years ago, I worked on a case and we did this and it was terrible. And this poor man died by suicide and I feel terrible about it. You need to look up his shit. And Peter Coyote's like, okay, that sucks, but I'm really scared now because this guy is a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And Glenn Close's like, don't care.
Yeah. By the way, Harry, I almost said Harry. Henry Styles' mother also happens to show up at the court because why wouldn't she be there as well to witness Glenn Close give this statement?
And nods.
Yeah, like, yeah, my son did kill himself because of shit you did, but good for you, girl. You get it.
Yeah,
it's
very insulting.
Yes.
So back to the bedroom. Glenn Close is going to change the sheets. Why?
She works there now.
She works there. She's fastidious, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's grabbing some new sheets, and on top of the top is a typewriter.
Ooh, doesn't he have a computer? He's rich. That's what she's thinking.
That's what she's thinking. And she's been all this time getting notes saying, you need to look, this guy's an asshole, whatever. And so she takes this typewriter and Corona typewriter, and she takes it down. Oh, very nervous. Yeah. She puts paper in there, which I guess anybody under 25 wouldn't know how to do.
They're
right?
like,
or
huh?
30.
Huh?
Yeah.
What is that?
They would just, it's like when kids see
it's called a manual
phone.
Computer.
And she types, and then you said it's the hanging T or L?
The T like pops out of sync. The T is broken.
And she goes,
yeah, and everyone in the theater freaked the fuck out.
Yeah, it was a big clue because we thought he was innocent and we thought it got to be somebody else. It has to be Pierre Coyote.
Yeah.
Or for some reason, because why would he just go out and murder a lady out of nowhere? But so she wraps up the typewriter, runs to her car. Jeff Bridges immediately goes, "Who? Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on?"
Yeah, once again, no poker face. No, nothing's going on. Everything's fine.
Just going home. So she goes home, and all of a sudden her home is broken into. She's alone because the ex-husband took off with the kids. And it's just a nice house too in San Francisco.
Super nice. I would like to live there.
Yeah, me too. And breaks in, and she's like, I knew it was you. I knew it was you.
I need to see your face.
I need to see your face. So he kind of he takes his mask off. Why? He does, and she shoots him.
Yeah.
And then she calls the police, and she calls Robert Loggia, excuse me.
She called him like before it even happened, and she was like, you need to... Never mind. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's fine, Robert Loggia. You don't need to come right over. It was a super weird scene. And then, but because Robert Loggia is always right in this movie, he rushes right over right after she kills this guy. And
he puts a paternal arm around her shoulders and just says, fuck him. He was trash.
I'm like, you know what I wrote down? I was like, this has to be one of the best last lines of a movie ever. This is the start of a beautiful friendship, and fuck him, he was trash. And nobody's perfect. That's it. Those are the 3 best lines in a movie ever.
And that's when we see like a quick shot of Jeff Bridges, or at some point we see it, but it was so quick in the movie theater. Like, I guess that he and Jeff Bridges looks like a lot of the white guys in the movie.
Yeah.
If you were just taking that angle.
And it's taken at a really weird angle. It's shot at a really weird angle.
It's terrible. It should be an overhead shot. It shouldn't be like that. But so the movie's a big success. I asked my brother, was that Jeff Bridges? He said, huh? And then I started talking to people in the theater. And we're like, well, it could be the guy at the gym. And then people are like, no, it has to be. There's literally no other person who would want to rape and murder a woman. Like her husband would want to do it.
I am fascinated by how many people wanted it to be Peter Coyote, though.
Yes.
And I'm like, but it isn't. It isn't Peter Coyote. I'm sorry, it isn't. There's not even a hint that it's going to be Peter Coyote. Why that was an option for people, I don't know.
It was a bad shot. It's a really bad shot. I just think it makes things confusing. And so a week or two later, Siskel and Ebert I think they gave it a good review, but
yeah,
they said, okay, we've never done this before, but if you don't want to know the ending, leave the room for like 30 seconds. And then Gene Siskel said, it's Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
And that settled it for all of us. And then I think it was on TV a lot after that.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah.
But I know I saw it in the theater, and I know this was on HBO all the time, HBO or Showtime. And then you would see it on like the TNT or TBS or edited, obviously.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't even say bitch. You know, so you didn't even, what did they write on the wall? I don't know. It says batch. It says batch.
Butch.
What a batch.
Who's Butch?
Who's Butch? It says Butch. It says Butch.
Beach.
Oh my gosh. A beach.
There's a beach? This is really confusing.
They are at Baker Beach, I guess.
Yeah.
Dude, just go to the beach. It's fine. God.
It's a weird thing to do because it's like 15 years after the Manson killings.
Yeah.
Like there's a why they have it be ritualistic, I don't know. But Jeff Bridges is the lead of this newspaper, runs everything, and is also really good at killing people and getting away with it until he's set free. There's no double jeopardy here. Like he was tried, whatever, and then he's just gonna fuck it up.
That was okay. See, that was something else I was wondering. I was like, why would he even bother at this point? His reputation, I guess.
His reputation. He doesn't want any stain on his reputation. Maybe he's just mad at her for figuring it out. But he wasn't that clever. Yeah. I mean, it was on the top shelf of a closet. Like, and not like it was in a safe or something.
He could have. I'm like, also, you're pretty quick to murder people.
He could hire somebody to do that.
Yeah.
You could poison people. There's other ways to do it. I mean, this woman, it's really terrifying what happens to her.
Yeah.
And so it's a very personal crime. So he's a real sick fuck.
He is. And it is established that he kind of did a test run like 18 months earlier, you know, and it's like, so he's clearly like a fucking psychopath or whatever. But you know, also whenever I watch movies where it's like, I need to murder my husband or my wife, I'm like, or you could just get a fucking divorce and rub some dirt on it and walk that shit off. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, but what do I know? I'm not rich.
Right. And that's Jagged Edge for you people.
I was making fun of it while we were going through the story, but I actually think it's a really good movie.
It's a fun movie. It's very watchable.
It's watchable.
It's very watchable. It's ludicrous. You can laugh at it, but it's still watchable.
I really like it. I read that they had talked about doing a sequel. Did you read that?
With who?
With Jeff Bridges' ghost. No, with Robert Loggia and Glenn Close.
Like as do a movie, yeah.
Yeah, they were going to like do another one with like them working a case together, but it didn't pan out, and I guess they like rewrote the script and then they released it as something called Physical Evidence with Burt Reynolds and Teresa Russell.
Yeah, Teresa Russell's an interesting actress. She's really talented. She's really good, and she's in a lot of shitty stuff.
Yeah. Did you see Black Widow with her and Deborah Winger?
We need to do Black Widow one day.
You know what? We should do Black Widow the weekend that the Scarlett Johansson Black Widow opens up. We'll get that sweet SEO traffic.
Yes, we're doing it.
Right.
Write that shit down.
I wrote it down. It's happening. It's happening. So some random notes I got in my dorking out about this movie was that Jane Fonda was originally going to do the Glenn Close role and then backed out.
Mm-hmm.
Which would you watched the one
Morning
After, which she did like the next year, right?
It's kind of the same fucking movie, but it's
also Jeff Bridges.
Also Jeff Bridges, but really boring and not interesting and not watchable. It's really hard to sit through that movie. Yeah.
And then I also read that at one point the director approached Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas. Yeah. And I was like, sure. Like that would have been
them together.
I like them together too. And I think I'm like, that would have been interesting. And then Kevin Costner was also approached for Jeff Bridges' role.
He could do it.
He could totally do it. I like Kevin Costner. We already know this.
Yes.
We are fans. Would you like to hear about other thrillers that were released in 1985?
Yes, please.
Okay. Blood Simple.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
The Coen brothers. I haven't seen it in so long. I should rewatch that. The Mean Season. I think it's Kurt Russell.
Oh, Meryl Hemingway?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
Cat's Eye. Do you know that one?
That's a lesbian one?
No. I think you're thinking of Cat People.
Okay. Sorry.
Cat's Eye is the like horror anthology one with
Stephen King.
Yeah. You're so funny, cat people. Something called Year of the Dragon. I don't really know that one, but it was a thriller in 85. Agnes of God.
That's Meg Tilly and Jane Fonda. That play, I saw the play. It's fucked up.
Yeah. I saw the movie and was like, that's fucked up. Death Wish 3. I'm like, does that count as a thriller? It apparently in Wikipedia it does. There was a movie called Target, which I was very disappointed to learn is not about the store. It's some action movie with Gene Hackman. Runaway Train.
Never saw it.
It's actually pretty good. It's John Voight, Eric Roberts, and Rebecca De Mornay. It's good. It's a fucking bummer though. It's ugly. It's an ugly movie. And then the last one I actually think is a really good movie, To Live and Die in L.A.
I love that movie.
I haven't seen it in a really long time, but I super love the song, and I remember really liking the movie.
We should do something, maybe do a series or whatever about like Hannibal and Silence of the Lambs and
Manhunter, yeah.
Yeah, like they're all kind of that universe comes from that writer. So, yeah, I love Manhunt. To Live and Die in LA is a really good movie.
Yeah, it's really good. It's William Peterson is the lead. Before CSI, before he was Gil Grissom, he was
this. Then he did Manhunter. I think.
Yeah, so he did this and he did Manhunter. Willem Dafoe is the bad guy in it, and he's kind of sexy in it. Kind of sexy. Who knew?
Who knew?
Anyway, those were the thrillers of 1985.
So these are some of the top songs of 85 when this movie came out. I think it was like October or November. Phil Collins, Separate Lives.
Okay, I super love that song. That's from White Nights.
Yes. Ready for the World, Oh Sheila.
That song is dope.
I knew you would say that.
I love that song.
Jan Hammer, Crockett's Theme.
Oh my God.
Miami Vice. Remember that?
Oh gosh. I love it.
Dire Straits, Money for Nothing.
You couldn't get away from that.
Couldn't escape that one.
The chicks were free. The chicks were free.
Tears for Fears, Head Over Heels. Still a good song.
I love Tears for Fears.
Tears for Fears. They hold up. The Hooters, And We Danced.
That's a good song. It's just
great song.
It's just the band name that makes me snicker because I'm a child.
Yeah. Glenn Frey, You Belong to the City. That was everywhere.
That was a good one too.
Yeah. And then the last one, Eddie Murphy, Party All the Time.
Yeah. Party all the time. Party all the time. Party all the time.
She likes to party all the time. Yeah.
God,
Rick James.
Yeah. We did a little radio show at my job when the pandemic started. We all took turns, and I just did an entire set that was actors who tried singing, and I played Eddie Murphy's Party All the Time, and all the young people were like, what the fuck?
What, did you do Don Johnson?
I did
Heartbeat?
Yes. But the Eddie Murphy one was the one that like blew their minds. They were like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, Eddie Murphy tried singing. He tried being a singer. The young people could not comprehend this.
He did a song with Michael Jackson. What's Up With You?
Oh my God, I don't even remember that song.
What's up? What's up? What's up with you?
But Party All the Time is a legit good song. It is a good song.
It's a bopper. It's fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's got Rick James. Come on.
Yeah.
It's a good one. What else are you dorking out about, Margo?
So we've talked about Real Housewives before.
Yes.
And I've basically I've made you start watching Salt Lake City.
By the way, you didn't make me. I did that shit myself.
So one of the women on Salt Lake City was a woman named Jen Shaw, and her husband was a football coach for University of Utah, and she had a bad temper. She's one of those people like freaks out under any conditions, and then has like 12 businesses, but nobody really knows what they were. And turns out
anyone who has like fucking plaques on their desk that says shit like girl boss,
right?
You're like
boss bitch.
Yeah, it's like, when the fuck do you do?
What do you do again? And she's like, oh, I'm in marketing. I'm really into online advertising. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Turns out she's into scamming people. That's terrible. She had set up all these marketing companies, and they built these websites to attract people. And then they would take all their information and they'd sell the list to companies that would then scam these people. Or they would send out mailers to people to their homes, and they would sell these lists. And they sold things like tax preparation, website development, auto insurance,
oh my gosh,
debt relief. And so you're going after vulnerable people, right? And most of them were older. They kept saying 55 and older. I'm like, I'm kind of close to 55. I'm like, I'm not a geezer here, but they had this scam going. And this company's been around for 15 years. And that's where all her money came from. And nobody knew that. And she had a guy that was her first assistant. And it turns out he was in on it too. And so this woman, middle of filming Real Housewives, Salt Lake City, they're going to go on a group trip to Vail. And on her way to the van, her husband's like, yo, the FBI is closing in. You got to get out of there. And so she told the crew, guys, my husband's in the hospital. I have to go to the hospital right now. You just go on your trip. So they're all like, holy shit, Coach Shaw, is he okay? He's
so likable too, by the way. You would be like super worried about him.
He's super charming. I mean, it's you like him. You don't like her. She's a child. So the FBI, so they didn't get it on camera, but they got the reaction on camera.
Yeah.
So she was arrested. And then, because everything is online now, and it's the Southern District of New York, and they don't fuck around. If they're coming to get you, look out. So it turns out, this is my favorite thing, Sonia. The FBI, she had what was called the Shaw Squad, which was a group of people. They helped her get pretty. They helped her take her to events because she literally has no friends.
It's like 8 of them, right?
Right.
So many.
Turns out, here's the best part. Turns out 1 or 2 of them were FBI agents. So I have figured out the next Emma Stone movie. A young FBI agent ready to get to the next level. And they're like, boom, you got to be on this reality show and be on this squad and then bust it from the inside.
Oh my God. This is
right.
First of all, I'd watch the shit out of that movie.
Right.
And I can't wait for the second season of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
The best part is that Bravo, they're such sneaky bitches. They are launching the second season. They've already announced it. It's going to start the same day as her trial, which is set in October.
Oh, I'm like, you guys can't see, but I'm rocking back and forth in my seat. I'm like, oh, what's happening?
There have been such shady things on this show of people that just want to prove how successful they are and rich they are. And it's just like, just be yourself.
Yes.
But they were talking about it. And so all these ads, do you ever get these spam calls where people are like,
yes,
do you want help with your auto insurance?
Yes.
And I haven't owned a car in 20 years. I live in New York. I don't need it, but I get them all the time. She did them. So there's people like, this is Jen Shaw doing this
Jen
shit.
Shaw, you are worse than Hitler. This is bullshit. I hate those calls.
I hate those calls, and I hate people who take advantage of people. A lot of people, they said, oh, you need to set up a website, and then we'll help you fix your problems. And people don't even have a computer. They just took advantage of people.
That's so shitty.
So shitty. But I love that whole thing of, well, who would fit into her Shaw squad? Like, they've got to really pass the test. And I just think like they had to train them to talk like her and say, yes, queen. And, you know, so I was just like, that's such an Emma Stone movie, or somebody that would fit in with that. And
I would watch it. It would be so good.
It's like your next Miss Congeniality.
Yeah. They could just call it like Glam Squad or something like that.
Something. Yeah.
I would totally watch it.
Yeah, but she's I mean, I've been watching this all week. They had a Skype session with her lawyer and the feds, and somehow the information got out. So God. All these reality show Bravo-holics were like dialing in and trying to listen. It's fucking bananas. It's like I was laughing out loud, and it's just people who do that, I hope they get caught more often. I just thrill when scam artists get called out. And so that's what I've been dorking out about this week.
You are doing some seriously good dorking out about that, because I knew things were going on and I could see the stories, and I'm like, I'm going to save this and I'm going to read it later, and I haven't read it yet. So you gave me all the info I needed.
Yep. That
is awesome. I can't wait. I'm counting the seconds until that show starts again. It's so good. It's so good. I started Kong versus Godzilla.
Is that on HBO Max?
It is on HBO Max. And I was like, it's time to watch the movie where the monkey fights the lizard. And so I've been watching that. I actually have a little bit left to go, but I have to say the parts I've seen, I really like Kong. I feel really sorry for Kong. I have a lot of sympathy for him, but also whenever they spend time with humans, I'm like, fuck this movie. Why do I care about humans? Just show me Kong and Godzilla, basically. I spend a lot of time just waiting for them to get back to the Kong and Godzilla.
Do you remember the movie? It was with 1976 or 78. Jessica Lange.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I used to watch a lot when it was on TV. And my mom said one time, I was like, why is everyone so mean to Kong? And she was just like, oh boy, she's going to date some losers. I just like, because my sympathies were totally like, why are they mad? He's just being an ape.
Yeah. I will say in Kong Skull, well, in the one that Peter Jackson did too, there's
That's
lot.
Too long.
It's so long.
That's so fucking long.
It's
that is
stupid long.
Travesty.
It didn't need to be that long. There's some really, really good stuff in that movie, but it's too fucking long. It's too long. I like what I've seen so far. I do really like, but there is all this stuff, especially with, and I hate to say it, Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things.
What? She's in there?
Yeah, and she's great. It's not even a slight at her. There's just a lot of this, like, there's a conspiracy going on, and why is Godzilla doing blah, blah? And I'm like, ugh. When is Godzilla and Kong gonna fight? Like, we don't need to wait that long. But it is on HBO Max, and it is something to watch. It's entertaining.
Okay.
And there's people who show up that, like, I haven't seen the other Godzilla movie because it looked terrible to me, but like Kyle Chandler shows up and I'm like, I love Kyle Chandler. And
he's always good.
I love him. He's always good. And then Alexander Skarsgård. He's in there and he's always good. You know, so there's people in it that you're like, that's awesome. I'm happy to see them. But more Kong and Godzilla, please. Less people talking. That's what I want. Also, I've been watching like just kind of random movies on Amazon Prime, and one of them was I watched Waiting to Exhale.
That's a good movie.
And I was like, I hadn't seen it since like I think it came out in 95, and I hadn't seen it in a long time. And obviously, like, you know, I see the GIF like every day of Angela Bassett like lighting that shit on fire. Like she like puts her man's stuff all in the car and lights it on fire, and she like flicks a cigarette at it, and it's fucking badass. But it's actually a really good movie. I really liked it. I hadn't seen it in a long time, but I like that. First of all, Wesley Snipes shows up, and I had forgot that Wesley Snipes was in it, and I'm always happy to see him. That was a pleasant surprise. But I like how it deals with, like, there's I forget her name. There's a woman in the movie who's a little bit younger than everyone else, and she's just dating like a series of losers, and kind of the excuses she makes for these losers is like, so like, I'm in my 20s. Like, it's just like that kind of thing. It's a very entertaining, good watch, I thought. And Gregory Hines shows up too. And I love Gregory Hines.
R.I.P.
He's one of those people too. Like, every time you see Gregory Hines, you're like, Gregory Hines.
Like, is Loretta Devine in there? And Whitney Houston?
Yeah, Whitney Houston, Angela Bassett, and then, oh my God, why can't I remember that other woman's name? That's not fair. I'm going to look it up.
Look it up. The book is really good too. I don't know if you ever read it.
I have not.
It's a really funny book. It's a really great novel, and it's a little more quiet.
Yeah, Leela Rashawn.
Oh, she's so beautiful.
So beautiful. She was also in like Harlem Nights and Boomerang and The Chamber. She's
The Chamber.
The Chamber. My God. Oh, and Donald Faison from Scrubs and Clueless is Loretta Devine's son in it, and he's really good too. And
he's always good.
It's directed by Forrest Whitaker. I really liked watching it. I thought it was really fun. The music's by Babyface, so it's like songs by like Brandy. And there's some like TLC in there. So like, I don't know, it just kind of scratched an itch for me. I was like, I really enjoyed it. So if you want to watch it, it's on all the channels. You can stream it. Margo, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Brooklyn Fit Chick, mostly for Twitter and Instagram. And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com.
And if you like the sound of our voices, and I'm sure you do, you can also listen to us at What a Creep Podcast, where we talk about creeps. And then we end every episode with someone who's not a creep. And we have a private Facebook group. And if you like dorking out, there's some dorks in there too. So occasionally people post about dorking out. So you could go on Facebook and type in like What a Creep Podcast and ask to join. And if you don't look like a creep who would storm the Capitol, we'll let you in. And you can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram, and sometimes TikTok. Sometimes, because I'm there to ruin it for the kids. If you want some stickers, they're really cute. You can email us at dorkingoutshow@gmail.com, and you can visit. We're also on Dorking Out Show on Twitter and sometimes Facebook, but not really. And if you want to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be amazing. It would really offset the bad reviews we get for my salty language. Or people who are like, Margo and Sonia just drink Chardonnay and say shitty things about men. That's not true. Neither of those things are true. Margo never drinks Chardonnay. She said it tastes like gasoline.
I'd rather drink bleach.
I like Chardonnay. Because I'm a basic bitch.
Not like what you like, people.
Yeah. Also, I'm drinking a rosé right now, which is why I'm getting a little slurry. So this was super fun. I'm so glad we talked about Jagged Edge.
It was a last-minute choice, but I loved it. And it was nice to go back to the 80s. Always nice to look at Jeff Bridges, Robert Loggia. Glenn Close looks great in this movie. Check it out. It's fun.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next week with another movie. I don't remember what we're going to do. Thank you, Rosé.